I never got around to reviewing the original Apple Vision Pro. I bought it 6 months after it came out, as that's when it officially launched here in the UK. And after that, I kind of felt that the hype died down. So I just couldn't find the right moment to give you guys my full in-depth review on it. But that moment has now arrived because this is the new M5 Apple Vision Pro that I've been using for the past month now. And as a long-term Apple Vision Pro user, I've got a lot of thoughts on it, but really, all you need to know is 3 things. Number 1, the new strap that changes everything. Number 2, the new chip that changes some things. And finally, is it worth getting a Vision Pro, either the new M5 or the M2, now that the price has really come down? Speaking of things worth getting, it's this thing behind me, not the MacBook, the wallpaper. That's our Chrome Currents wallpaper pack by our designer Bold. This is by far one of my favorite packs this month. Although we've got some more awesome ones like Pretty Planets by Ollie, Dreamy Destinations by Splashy, Metal Mosaics by Michael, and our latest, Japan Journal by Lucy. You can get the first wallpaper of every pack for free and in 8K and with 0 ads by using the link below or by searching for wallpapers on the Play Store or App Store. And now back to the M5 Vision Pro. So first, I want to start with a strap. When the Vision Pro originally launched, it came with this solo knit band. Now, this strap looked incredible, reason why Apple was using it in all of their marketing materials. And it was also super easy to adjust with this single knob on the back to tighten it or loosen it. However, this strap was extremely uncomfortable, as because it had no top piece, the entire weight was distributed towards the front of your face. So to combat this, Apple had a second strap in the box, the dual loop band. This was far more comfortable thanks to its top piece. However, it looked ugly, and it wasn't as nice or quick to adjust due to the lack of the knob. So fast forward a couple more months and Apple released another strap, this single top piece made in partnership with Belkin that would attach to the solo knit bands like this and kind of give you the best of both worlds. A much comfier fit thanks to the top piece, yet one that you could easily adjust thanks to the knob on the back. However, it was still not perfect. The top part was a bit cumbersome to adjust, and the headset was still way too front heavy, so oftentimes I could still feel that weight on my face after around 40 or so minutes of use. So fast forward to today, and now we've got this band, the dual knit band. This now comes by default with the new M5 Vision Pro. However, you can also purchase it separately for the original Vision Pro for just $99. And I gotta say, this is by far the best strap, because it solves the 2 main issues that all the previous straps had: the weight distribution and the adjustability. You see, unlike the solo knit or the dual loop or the solo knit with the Belkin strap attachment, the dual knit band now features metal in the back piece, which acts as a counterweight, and is designed in such a genius way in that there's literally tungsten inserts in this mesh here, so it's heavier but still fully bendable and extremely comfortable. On top of this, both the back and the top pieces are now fully adjustable by this knob in the most intuitive way possible. You scroll the knob to tighten the back piece, and then you take the knob out and then scroll it to adjust the top piece. It makes a world of a difference, and honestly, if you've got an original Apple Vision Pro, this is going to be the best purchase that you can make for it. Which brings me to the second upgrade, the chip. The 2nd Gen Vision Pro now jumps from the M2 all the way to the M5. That's a 3-generational jump. And in fact, it's such a big jump that we now get double the CPU performance in both single-core and multi-core, more than double the GPU performance, and a whopping 27 times faster AI performance. Not even to mention the much faster storage and full support for hardware-based ray tracing. Additionally, the refresh rate also got bumped to 120Hz from 100Hz, and the display renders 10% more pixels. At least, this is what Apple claims. So, how does this all translate to real-world usage? Well, let's start with the raw performance of the M5 chip. What I've noticed is that the M5 does boot faster. It also launches apps noticeably faster. The same goes for populating a scene with widgets. Generating a spatial photo is also noticeably faster on the M5. Basically, everything that I do on the M5 just feels more responsive. Kind of like how using an M5 MacBook Pro feels compared to using an M2 model, although not quite as extreme, as visionOS is based on iPadOS, so it is far less resource intensive than macOS is. Now, besides this, I haven't really noticed any other advantages to the M5 chip. Apps run pretty much the same, and while some developers have promised M5 updates with better graphics and ray tracing, I haven't seen any apps that take advantage of these features yet. As time passes, we may see that, but because the Vision Pro just isn't as popular as the Mac or the iPads are, I wouldn't necessarily bet on that. As for the 120Hz refresh rate, I haven't actually noticed a big difference from the previous 100Hz refresh rate. In fact, when sharing my Mac screen, that still runs at 60 frames per second, not 100, and definitely not 120. So then, what about that 10% higher rendering resolution? Well, that's something that I have actually noticed, but the difference is still very minor. The place where I've noticed it the most was, once again, when using the Mac Virtual Display. You see, for the Vision Pro to even be able to render a 10K resolution display, which by the way is what this Mac Virtual Display's resolution is, it needs to use a technique called foveated rendering, which basically renders whatever you look at in higher quality than the parts that you're not looking at. So on the M5, that foveated area is a bit larger, and the center area is also a bit sharper, so you have less tunnel vision, so to say, and the image is clearer, but the difference is very minor. To test this accurately, I pulled up the classic Snellen eye test chart. I know, my mom would be proud. And then I made the Mac's Virtual Display as small as I could, and I tried seeing how many lines I could read. With the M2, I could read until line 9, but line 9 was already quite fuzzy, so I couldn't make out 2 characters at all. With the M5 model, line 9 was a bit clearer, and there was only 1 single character that I couldn't read. So better, but not massively better. But then I remember that Apple also sells these, the Zeiss lens inserts for the Apple Vision Pro. Now, I don't normally wear glasses. However, I do actually own a pair of prescription glasses with minor corrections when looking in the distance. So I was like, okay, let's give these Zeiss lens inserts a go and see if they make any difference. So I went to the nearest ophthalmologist, I got my eyes checked, I got a prescription, uploaded that to Apple's website, and I got myself a pair of these Zeiss lens inserts. And oh my god, they made a massive difference. Specifically when looking outside of my central focus area, everything was noticeably sharper. It kind of looked as if my Vision Pro got a massive upgrade in terms of its foveated rendered area. So, with the Zeiss lens inserts in, I redid my Snellen eye test. And guess what? With the M2 version, I was now able to read the entirety of line 9, something that I couldn't even do with the M5 model. And when paired with the M5, I was able to read a tiny bit of line 10 as well, although not the entirety of it. So, with all of this in mind, is it worth upgrading to the M5 Vision Pro if you've already got the M2 Vision Pro? Absolutely not. No, obviously no. The fact that you can get the dual nitband for the first gen and a pair of these Zeiss lenses and basically make it as good as the M5 model in terms of clarity and comfort kind of says everything you need to know. Oh, and Apple doesn't even offer trade-ins for the M2 version, which also tells you that they don't expect anyone with the M2 model to upgrade to the M5. This may be a different story a couple of years from now once apps do start making full use of the power of the M5, but until then, it's definitely not worth upgrading. So, what if you don't have a Vision Pro right now, and you're debating whether to get the new M5 or a used M2, which has dropped in price to just around $2,000 or £2,000 here in the UK? Well, I would say if you can wait until it drops to maybe like $1,500, that would actually make it a really good deal. It is by far the best device I've ever used for watching content, since you're teleported into a full-sized cinema. And you can also watch 3D movies on this, which is also by far the best 3D movie watching experience I've ever had. Far better, by the way, than even watching 3D movies in the cinema, since the image is much sharper and also much brighter. And it's also amazing for having a portable, ultra-wide floating screen for your Mac. I use this dozens of times when traveling. It's honestly so good for that. That's what it excels at, and hopefully soon it will be a decent gaming device as well, thanks to the recently introduced support for the PlayStation VR 2 controllers. And I also really love being able to snap widgets on my walls, like seeing the battery status of my Apple devices while working on the ultra-wide screen of my Mac is It's just so cool. Really, my only issue software-wise is that when you're using iPadOS specific apps, the text is just huge, like gigantic, even on the lowest settings. So I often find myself just using the Mac virtual display as opposed to having dozens of floating windows. Like, you kind of should, but I just don't do that because of the text scaling. But other than that, I think we're in a pretty good place, at least when it comes to the software. When it comes to hardware, assuming that Apple has not fully given up on the Vision Pro like the leaks were saying, we may see that true Vision Pro 2 that's much lighter and also with a much improved battery life, which, by the way, for me has still been about 2 hours on the M5 model, although that Vision Pro 2 is probably still about 4 years away, if not even longer than that. So there you go, my review of the M5 Vision Pro, which, by the way, will be going back, as I am sticking with my M2 model for the foreseeable future, of course with the dual nit band and the Zeiss lenses, both of which make a massive difference. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on the Apple Vision Pro in general, and also if you're considering picking one up once the price drops even more. I'm Daniel, this is Zoneoftech, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Zoneoftech, signing out. Cheers.